Hello, everybody, and welcome to Saturday's Opinion. Today, we're going to go over the two newest generations, Gen Z and Millennial generation. What's happening with them? What are they being exposed to? And what are their mindsets going forward? This is very important as we're seeing things change in the United States. Attitudes are changing. You know, the Great Reset that is being talked about, especially from the World Economic Forum, who absolutely have termed that, and the Chinese president or prime minister saying, you know, terming the word new norm. So before we jump into it, you know, guys, welcome to Real Estate Daily. I always like to do these opinion pieces so we give you the best information out there, kind of open everybody's eyes. Now, before we jump into this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. We're growing fast. I know it's a weekend. You can watch this anytime. Also, with that notification button, notifies you when we go on for these 5 to 10 minutes on almost a daily basis. So let's just jump right into it. So this week I reported on several different outlets, but I think Redfin actually had the biggest article. It said that if you broke inflation up into generations, the generation that's paying the highest inflation is Gen Z and millennials. And there's several different reasons why. One of the reasons why was that there's renters there and there's not as many homeowners as there are in older generations. But what I'm seeing out there, and I think what a lot of Americans seeing out there, is that their mindsets are being molded and changed. As I grew up, not on the internet, I grew up with encyclopedias, you know, and my kids grew up on kind of the internet, but the internet was there for information, not so, and a little bit of email communication. Today's generation, let's say Gen Zs, they're almost raised on the internet. They don't get out as much. And with COVID, what did that do? That really locked them into what's happening in social media. That was their social life, as well as all the baloney that goes on the internet. So I want to start off with saying, I know that this is all about real estate, but to get down to why we're getting a different mindsets in millennials and Gen Zs and why they're paying more for it, it's what is being presented to them. Here's an article right off the bat, and it says Biden's decision on student loan forgiveness could come as soon as Wednesday. Well, this happened last week. Well, what do you do if you're a millennial and a Gen Z? Most all of our aspirations is to go to college, get a degree, take that degree, and then go in the world and make money and provide for our family, right? Or enjoy a job in which we can be at for 30, 40 years. Well, one way of not being responsible for ourselves is being handed out. Now, if I look back in my life with my father and my mother, this was a very big topic that I ran into, a big issue. With me, as I grew up, my father, who was a predominant, money maker in our house and was a predominant discipliner and pretty much teacher in our house, he pretty much gave me nothing. So if I had to earn it, I earned it. So at a young age, when I was in high school, I started to work. So I had to go to high school and I had to work at the same time. And that work ethic kind of got me into college, in which I went to college and then I paid my student loans. And then I went into the world. I feel that I am book smart. I am street smart more than I am book smart. So I learned by more visual and more experience than I learned looking at a book or reading it online. And with that being said, it's given me a pretty good income, pretty good living. But I'm not seeing this out of a younger generation, or at least a portion of it. The consistent, bombardment of free given to them is just coming out of our politicians today. So for an example, at our last major election, what did we do? We saw that, politicians promised people that they would receive money, free money after the election, which we did. I received a check in the mail for $2,400. I didn't need the $2,400, but I still did it. And now looking back at it, I knew it was more of a political ploy and a vote, trying to get votes than it is anything else. But now I'm seeing it more and more. With us, all of us getting a $2,400 check, or most of us, where did the money come from? Well, it came from several different bills that got passed. Well, Now, what happened with those bills and trillions of dollars that were spent, now we are paying it back. So the $2,400 that I received in 2021 is now being paid back in 2022 for high gas prices, high food prices, high energy prices. This is the government's way of overspending and then inflating everything. And then now we're paying it back at a much higher rate. With that being said, giving out a $10,000, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we going and giving student loan forgiveness? The unemployment rate is at nearing all-time lows. People are making more money in salary than they ever have. There's more money out there, yet we're giving money back. If you look at the average debt of someone who graduated from huge Catholic school like Notre Dame in Indiana, it's the average debt is a little over $17,000. If he's giving back $10,000 of it for people who make less than $125,000, well, that's pretty much quite a lot of people. When you go out of school, you're not going into a six-figure income. This is just another way of payback. Everyone out there that thinks that this is a good idea is just going to pay the piper down the road, right? They're just going to go, today I got $10,000 off my student loan. But they're not realizing that it's going to cost them an inflation down the road in 3 or 4 years. It's just going to come out of your pocket. It doesn't matter if it's $1 a gallon in gas. It doesn't matter if it's $1 a loaf, or is it $1 a gallon of milk, or is it $2 at McDonald's at a fast food restaurant. It's costing you more money. They took it back from you, that $2,400, and they took it back more. Well, how does this all wrap up in real estate? Okay, and we see, how does this all wrap up? Well, let's just jump into what reality is coming to. Now, I've heard of many different rumors going out, that these types of loans are going to be announced, and now we see the very first one. Bank of America just launched a 0 down payment mortgage for 21 cities that could be much cheaper and easier to buy a home. Oh my. So if I go over and I look at this particular article, and there's no guidelines that Bank of America has put out. So they're telling us that you don't need to have any funds, you don't need to have any down payment, you don't have to have any closing costs. You don't even have to have a FICO. In fact, you probably have to have a FICO, but it doesn't even matter what your FICO is. They're simply going to loan you money on what your landlord comes back and says your on-time payments for rent and what your utility bill, like your cell phone bill, what it came back. Now, I know that in 2008 and 2009, that there were 100% finance loans. Those loans all went bad, or 90% went bad. Why? Because nobody proved income. Nobody proved credit worthiness. Nobody proved any of that. And so it caused an entire housing destruction. It caused the entire economy to go down, right? And tumbling down like a fire it did, right? So with that being said, here we are again, 10 years later, 12 years later, and we're gonna make it easier for people to get loans. Now, I understand a lot of you are gonna say, well, yeah, this is for the underprivileged, underdeveloped, I don't know, what is it called? Underserved. These are for the Black and Hispanic communities. That's what it's for. Guys, what are we doing here? Are we setting people up to fail? So I look at this the same way as the student loans that are being released. They make it where you get excited about it. And then when it comes down to it, they set you up for failure, right? They put you in a bad situation. And then what do? You go back and vote for them again. Because this whole program is about getting votes, right? It's about getting votes. But if anyone ever got in this loan and they had a hiccup in life, what's going to happen? You're going to be foreclosed on. Now, if I really do a deep dive, and if I have an opinion on this is a Bank of America loan. This isn't any other loan. And I think Bank of America got spanked by either the federal government or the state of California for some of the practices they've done with the underserved, right? So when they look at the numbers of races that Bank of America has done loans for, it shows that on the lower end, Hispanics and African Americans have the least amount of loans that Bank of America did. So I personally think that they were just going to get spanked. And one way the government came in and said, well, we won't spank you, fine you, do whatever, if you come out with a loan that absolutely goes after these communities. Now, I understand that, okay? But I don't understand, being a real estate agent for 16 years, that anyone that is not qualified for a loan, to give them a house has been a complete disaster 15 years ago. Why would it be any different today? And why would you even have less guidelines you had 15 years ago in a complete disaster that caused an enormous recession? Why would we put ourselves back into that? What is the government looking at here? Okay, they're setting people up to fail, and they're hurting our economy at the same time. I don't understand where this is coming from. Unless Bank of America is under enormous pressure to put these out, they're going to hold their paper. You can't sell that to Fannie or Freddie or the secondary market. So if they're going to hold their own paper, they have to make guidelines so strict that possibly only helps 5 or 10% of anybody out there. And if it only helps 5 or 10%, it's not even real. It's not even a real loan. Now, guidelines are supposed to be coming out sometime in the next week or two. Maybe it won't even come out for a long time. Maybe it's just a headline that they had to put out a press release, and it makes no sense. But I'm telling you, millennial generation as well as Gen Z are just hearing the word free, free, free. We're going to pay this, pay that. It's government control. It's you will not get ahead in socialism and Marxism. There's nobody that gets ahead. You have the 3 or 4% that are on top want to stay on top, and they don't want anyone else in that boys club. They want to keep you fat, happy, and broke. And that is a term I've heard many, many times, and I keep seeing it played out over and over and over. Just another scenario, another headline for that. Well, guys, if you have any comments, please leave them below. It could be fairly controversial what I said, but please think it over first. You know, just giving anyone a loan that can breathe on a window and fog it up, like that was discussed back in 2008, 2009. That was the comment that everybody made when they got loans. You know, put down there. I want to hear your opinion, whether it be what I feel. My opinion can be against me. I don't care. Put it down below. I'm more than happy to listen to anyone. Otherwise, guys, have a good rest of the weekend. It's a holiday weekend, and we will be maybe here on Monday, but that notification bell will ding in your ear if we put out some information, put another video on Monday. Guys, take care and out.